Hi, my name's Andy Holmes, Mountain Bike Product Manager here at Felt Bicycles. Here today to talk about the new bikes for 2010. Probably the most important change that we've done for 2010 is on our Virtue series, where we've managed to lighten up that whole series of bikes by adjusting tube profiles, removing gussets, and basically pulling that bike back to its cross-country to fast trail kind of routes. What we did this year was actually, at the front of the bike, we relaxed head angles on the bikes from 70 degrees down to 69 degrees to give a bit more sure-footed kind of descending, but still a bit more stable even on the flat stuff. We actually removed like the down tube gusset that we've always had in the past, and that actually helped us lose a lot of weight. The front triangles are actually 125 grams lighter than they were last year. Additionally, we pulled the gusset out from underneath the shock here, and the new gusset on the seat tube here, again, all combined removes 125 grams from the frames. When you look at the top end bikes, we've gone Fox on the front, Fox on the rear. Any bike that's spec'd with a Fox rear shock now comes with a Fox fork. Moving on to the Compulsion series. As we've actually improved the Virtue, we've done a lot of similar things on the Compulsion. We've adjusted butting profiles in the tubes. We also pulled a 1.5 degrees out of the head angle. As we moved the Virtue back into more of an aggressive kind of race to marathon to fast trail bike, we found that we needed to lighten up the compulsions, because there's no reason for a guy who needs a 6-inch bike to have to pedal a heavy bike if he doesn't need to. With all the adjustments we did, the new Compulsion 1 is actually now 28 pounds pretty much on the nose. And that goes up against a lot of other companies' high-end $6,000, $7,000 and $8,000 bike, which weigh almost the same. Big details that we did on the Compulsion: we removed a 1.5 degrees out of the head angle to make it a bit more sure-footed on the steep descents. All of the bikes now are designed around a true 150mm fork. When we get down to the entry level, we actually use, even though we can't get a 150mm fork, the entry level fork actually uses the same axle to crown dimension, so that actually allows us to keep the same handling characteristics throughout the whole line. Feels light, accelerates well, yet still strong and stiff enough to bomb down pretty much anything. That combined with a full SRAM Grupo, pretty much all around for $4,300. I don't think there's really anyone out there who can touch that. Yeah, last year we introduced the carbon hardtails, basically in 26 and 29-inch versions. Last year we did 2 models of the 26 or 6 series, as we call them. This year we actually expanded that to include an XTR equipped bike. The top end bike basically features the lightest frame that we do, which is 1,050 grams. Last year it was only available as a frame set. This year, with the XTR kit and also SID World Cup on it, we're actually able to get a bike down to 19 pounds. Geometry is identical to what we had last year. It's basically our proven RXC geometry, so it's designed for super fast trail riding and all the way up to World Cup level racing. And we actually have some races going out this year in the US from Mafia Racing. Internationally, we're going to be launching the Felt World Cup team, and they're going to be racing on this frame. And so far, feedback on this has been pretty amazing. Again, introduced last year at Interbike was our 9 Carbon series, using a lot of the technology that we'd developed in our road bikes, that we also used in our 6 series bikes. We basically wanted to build a bike that, even though it's got a 29-inch wheel, still rode almost exactly the same as a 26-inch counterpart. Basically, low bottom bracket, steep angles, very fast handling for a 29er. This is basically designed as a race bike, not as just a trail bike. However, set the bike up with a 100mm fork and you have a trail bike. In addition to the 9 carbons, we still carry through on the 9 alloy models. This year on all of the alloy models we actually lightened up the frames, so we pulled about 75 to 100 grams out of the standard frame tubes, just by adjusting butting profiles and basically fine-tuning the ride characteristics, thinning out walls on the tubes. Overall geometry is identical to what we've had in the past. You know, the steep 72-degree head angle, which allows you with an 80mm fork to have that fast, kind of sit in it kind of feel that you'd expect from the felt bikes that we've had in the past. And moving over to our Q Series Hardtails. A few years ago we introduced our Q Series models into the US market, and this has always been a kind of a staple of the felt family, both internationally and the US. It's kind of an entry-level bike, but felt's real direction on these bikes is actually to produce a bike which feels like a mountain bike, not like a hybrid that just happens to have knobby tires on. Like you'll find a lot of bikes out there are. One of the cool things that we did this year was basically start with a brand new frame. All the frames have butted tubes. The 520, 620, two entry-level models, butted tubes, top tube and down tube, with pretty walled hydroforms on the tubes. On the top end frame, the 720, we actually went with a super thin wall down tube, and it's actually a double butted down tube and then a double butted top tube as well, which is, you notice the hydroforms that we have on here are extremely complex. And the advantage of this is it can give us a lot of rigidity, but still providing a really lightweight frame. Other details that we have on the frame as well that make it cool, we've got the hydroform seat stays. These are actually butted seat stays and then flared, which actually allows us to make, again, a very stiff rear triangle. So under power, there's zero flex, yet actually pull a lot of weight out of this rear end. You're basically looking on the frame alone, on the frame alone, you're looking at those pulling out. Change that again. On the frame alone, on the top end model this year, we pulled 200 grams out of the frame, which is considerable considering the price point of all of these bikes. Top end model retails for under $1,000 with custom color matched rims. We have the new gold spokes on there, and basically tying the whole bike in together. And when you put any of these bikes on the shop floor, they basically stand out above almost anybody else out there. The nice thing that we did this year, we actually had the guy who designed the frame design the graphics as well. So it's one complete unit. I mean, in the past we've always had, you know, we have graphics on some round tubes which look really good, but this year we've taken another step far above that, and you'll notice it just looks one real. You have to chop that bit out. So, yeah, you'll notice that all the decals flow with the curves of the frame and accentuate all of the new shapes on the bike. You know, removal of gussets, again, helps us drop the weight down, and then new details as far as like saddles and stems and bars are all custom matched to every single price point, even down to our new $469 price point bike, which is the Q520.